Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays, I always do my question and answer videos. This is going to be actually a really great video. There's just so many things that I prepared to show in this video, and it's because people ask me some really great questions. And I always give shout outs to all the people that ask me questions. So if you want to get a shout out for your channel, then ask me a question below. So with all that being said, let's get into the questions. The first question is from Phil Camacho. Really enjoyed this informative video. He's referring to last week's. I like the deep dive into Dell Publishing, where I've been collecting 4-color keys for the past year due to your channel. I've recently been collecting gold key books, but didn't know about their competition with Dell and lost battle. Okay. Were you able to add to your PC any of the After Hours 1 through 4 mags by Warren? Okay, so he asked me, he's talking about Dell, then all of a sudden he switches to Warren. So last week I did a video where I did an in-depth dive into Dell Publishing. And I also mentioned that, I collect Warren, and I was showing some of my Warren books as well. I'm a big collector of Warren. I actually have every single issue ever produced by Warren in the US. So they produced a whole bunch of comics, and not comics, but magazines, and they even produced comics. I even have their rare New York World's Fair comics. I even have all the variants to it. So I have a really great Warren collection. And to answer his question, so the first books that were part of Warren Publishing, Warren Publishing is responsible for the creation of Vampirella, Famous Monsters, Creepy, Eerie, Blazing Combat, 1984, Rook, Goblin, a whole bunch of these really great books. But the way that they started out was they had an interesting idea. They wanted to compete with Playboy. And the very first books that they published were in direct competition, or were trying to be in direct competition with Playboy. They weren't very successful, though. But they created these adult books that were called After Hours. And I'm going to show you the 4 that he asked about. And the first is After Hours number 1. And you can see it's like they weren't the most stylish books. I think they kind of looked a little drabby, to tell you the truth. So this is the first one. And, it's a collector's edition. This is After Hours number 1. This is from 1957. And then we got After Hours number 2. So maybe a little bit better. I don't know. These are, and then they did a lot of these red and black covers. This is After Hours number 3. Kind of maybe a little more risque looking. And then we got After Hours number 4. Now, number 4 is actually the big key. Most people don't realize that. Most people would say, "Oh, number 1," but number 4 is actually the big one. This is the grail of the After Hours series, and the reason being, it was After Hours was started by James Warren and Forrest J. Ackerman. And Forrest J. Ackerman was a total geek, just like myself, and he loved sci-fi. He even coined the term sci-fi. So he was just a really big geek when it came to sci-fi. And he basically collected a lot of the stills from the movies. And he would collect posters and everything from the movies. And he had all this stuff. And he wanted to kind of showcase it a bit. So in this magazine, and I'm actually going to show it to you, even though it's a very rare magazine. I want to show you the article that he created. And it changed magazine history, I guess. I don't know. But so we got like at the very back here. Wait, I'll show it one sec here. Because this stuff's pretty innocent, actually. One sec here. You got to bear with me. We got some Betty Page. So Betty Page goodness inside. And some more Betty Page pinups. But that's not the important thing. It's not that Betty Page was the big thing in this. It was actually, he wrote an article, and I'm going to get to it, all about monsters. So, so this is like, he has like King Kong and all these kind of monster things. And he was just sort of talking about, his love of the horror genre and sci-fi, and just his love of monsters, famous monsters from the movies. And so many people love the article about famous monsters and about all this kind of movie nostalgia that they basically asked him, in letters and stuff, to focus on that. And so, not many people really liked the adult stuff that they were producing, so they figured, hey, let's focus on this famous monsters and famous movie-related stuff. So they basically went exclusively into horror movies and sci-fi movies in a magazine called Famous Monsters of Filmland. So that's how it all started. So these 4 magazines are considered like kind of the beginning of Warren Publishing, and that led to like Famous Monsters and all these other great magazines that they produce. So very good question. A little odd, but at the beginning, but okay. Next one was from Mike Suntal. He asked me some questions. Do you upgrade your collection? If so, and if you do, what do you do with the lesser grade? Do you sell them? Also, what is the actual shipping cost from Canada to United States for one bagged and board comic? I'm seeing from $6.50 to some crazy number. How much does it really cost? Okay. So I'm going to answer the upgrade question first, and then get into the shipping thing. Actually, I'll answer the shipping thing first because it's pretty quick. So really depends how you ship your books. So if you put like bag and board and then cardboard on either side, because things get always bent in with Canada Post. Canada Post is terrible. If you complain about US Post, you haven't tried out Canadian Post. It's just really bad. But usually costs anywhere from about $10 to $15 to ship from Canada to the US. And when I buy from eBay, I've seen pricing from anywhere from $10 to ship, anywhere up to $50 to ship for a slab, for example. So really the pricing is pretty varied. But even in Canada, I actually had a really interesting experience where I bought a book from a Canadian vendor because I thought, okay, I'll save on the shipping. And the shipping was actually more expensive from the west coast of Canada to where I live than for him to ship to the US. So it was really weird. I don't know why that was, but it just was. He said he actually apologized, but just was more expensive to ship within Canada than across the border. And I don't know why. So that's my rough estimate of shipping costs in Canada and the US. So I'm going to show you some of the books that I bought and that I upgraded. So this is Don Juan and John Juan. And it's basically like, he's like, this is a Soti book. And it's Soti because it's like sort of like this great lover thing. And it was a low grade. It's a 3.5. It's not like super low. It actually presents really well. But I wanted a slightly higher copy of this. And so I got just a slightly better one. And it was around the same price. So it wasn't really, it was this one. It's a 5.5. Let me take it out and you can see a little bit better. So just it looks, the colors are a little sharper. Just I really like this book, so I kind of wanted one that's a little bit better. And this previous one had some chipping and it had like some pencil mark on it and stuff. So I wasn't super a fan of it. It's still a really nice copy, actually. What I will do is I can probably sell or trade this for other comics because people will want this. It's actually a pretty valuable comic. But I liked having the upgrade. So that's one example. So usually what I'll do is I'll either trade it or sometimes I actually give them away. I've done giveaways where I've given away my lower grades. Another example of a low grade one that I just really didn't like because it was just, but it's a pretty valuable comic. Like I didn't pay that much for it. Like I think $35 for it. 35, 40, something like that. But it's got like staining. It's got some like a missing corner over here. I really don't like missing pieces on the cover. I don't mind if the you could remove the whole back of the cover of the book, but if it's on the cover, it really bothers me. Like I actually want the back as well, but it really bothers me for having writing or missing pieces. That really bothers me. And this is just like a 2.0, like my comic shop I bought it from graded as a 2.0, and it's probably accurate grade. So that is one that I'll probably sell, and because it's gone up a lot since I bought it. So that's, but I upgraded it. I'll show you my upgrade. And actually I didn't pay that much for the upgrade. So I paid $200 for the upgrade, and it's a 7.5. It's just a really, you can see the difference in the, one is white and one is sort of brownish, sort of, really, it's just such a great cover. I really love this comic. It's one that I always have on my display. It's the first appearance of the Silver Age Catwoman. So it's just a really great comic. So I always, want it to be in a fairly high grade if I can. So I'll probably sell the other one, and use the money to fund more comic buying. Okay, and I'm going to show some more. It's going to be a long video. One that I bought, and I got it really, really cheap. This was Thrilling Comics number 56. And this is the first appearance of Princess Panther. And when I bought this, it was the only copy I could find. So I was like, I guess I'll have to get it. I really hesitated buying this because it's just really, you can see all the damage. It's not in the best of conditions. And the centerfold is detached. It's just in really rough shape. But it's Alex Schomburg cover. It's, it is the first appearance of a Golden Age character. And just kind of a cool book. But it really bothered me to see it in such a low grade. So I actually upgraded it a lot. I got a 7.5 of it, and I like 7.5 grades as as an affordable grade to get. And it's like one of the highest on the census actually for this book. So just a really nice one. It has even a little date stamp. I kind of like the date stamp sometimes. Just a really great cover now that it's it looks like a great cover. So just really great book to have. I'll show you who Princess Panther is, and you'll probably wonder why. Well, who is Princess Panther? Not like it's a major character, but it's just one that I like because it's kind of like the good girl art. So this is Princess Panther, just so you know. One last book, and I don't have the upgrade that I do have it, but I just don't have it handy, is this one, Brave and the Bold Teen Titans. This is the first appearance of Wonder Girl, and this book, I'm going to sell. It's a low grade. It's a 2.0, and it's missing a huge chunk right there. And I used to display this on my back wall, and it always bothered me. I would always see this little chunk missing, and it really bothers me because it removes his face. It's just, I think that's like Lightning Lad or Aqua Lad or something. I think that's Aqua Lad. It just removes his face. I just really bothered by that. So I really want to upgrade this one. Actually, I was so desperate to upgrade it. It's kind of funny. I ended up buying it twice. So I won 2 auctions where one was slabbed and one was unslabbed. and they were both upgrade from this book. And I didn't think I'd win both auctions, but I ended up winning it twice in the same day. So it was kind of weird. So I upgraded it twice. So I really didn't want this in my collection. But I'm selling it. So if you want it in your collection, you know, with all that recommendation, right? So yeah. So those were the ones that I upgraded. Okay. Next question is from Rocket Fighter 8. Since you like top 10 lists, what are your favorite MCU DC movies? My wife isn't interested in comic books, but she enjoys movies. Does your family watch them with you? My family does watch the movies with me, and I have to find my list. Okay, so I made a list of my top 10. I had to kind of play around with it because I was kind of thinking about it. And I'll start from 10 up. These are my favorite DC and MCU movies, or Marvel movies. I gotta be a little careful because some of them are not MCU officially movies, they're Marvel movies. Okay, so number 10 on the list is Superman number 3. Now, Superman number 3 is a little cheesy when I look back at it, but I watched it as a kid, and I loved that movie as a kid. I love the, I was a big fan of Richard Pryor. I would watch all the Richard Pryor movies, and to see him in a Superman movie, I really liked that. You know, I just thought he was really funny, and I kind of liked his little storyline. And I liked that they made this supercomputer, which at the time, you know, whenever they talk about making supercomputers back in the 80s when Superman 3 came out, they would always make these massive things like a supercomputer has to be like as big as a building, or in the case of Superman, it was as big as a mountain, kind of like this massive computer. And, you know, there was like, you know, so many silly things in it. I liked it. So, and I just liked that this supercomputer was able to figure out how to defeat Superman. It was kind of cool. So I like that movie. And number 9 on my list was Thor Ragnarok. I just thought Thor Ragnarok was a kind of interesting, fun, a bit silly movie. I just kind of liked it. And next is from the DC selection, Shazam. I actually really like Shazam a lot. You know, Captain Marvel was a character that got me into collecting Golden Age books. So I really like Shazam. I think he's just a cool character. So I really like the Shazam movie. The next one would be a Doctor Strange. Actually, there's 2 Doctor Strange movies, and one is the animated one, and one is the one that was on the, you know, the live action. I actually like the animated one better. It's really great animated movie. I highly recommend it. But I actually, you know, even if I remove that one, I'd still like Doctor Strange next on my list. I thought it was a great movie. I was a little bit annoyed that they did a bit of the gender swap with, you know, the sensei guy being like a woman instead of this old Chinese man. But I think they were trying to be sensitive to China and that market. So, you know, there's a bunch of things like that in the movie that were a little annoying, but overall, I really liked the story and the movie. And the special effects were pretty amazing too. Next one was Iron Man, the original first Iron Man. I just liked, you know, I liked the one scene that I really loved from that movie is, you know, he's like working really hard and building this awesome like Iron Man suit. And then, you know, it's revealed and it just looks so ghetto. It's just like so silly. It's just, you know, it looks like, you know, very homemade. And I just thought that was really realistic. And at the same time, you know, kind of cool because you can see that progress. And it really sort of, it did a good job of actually retelling the original Iron Man story. So I thought that was quite good. I enjoyed Iron Man. Next one, number 5 on my list, would be Wonder Woman. I love Wonder Woman. So she's like one of my favorite characters. So, of course, I really enjoyed the first Wonder Woman movie. The second one, not so much. I thought it was very so-so. But the first one I thought was really good, and I thought, they really, I really like the actress that plays Wonder Woman. I think she's beautiful, and I thought she really got the whole um, mood of Wonder Woman really well. I thought she captured Wonder Woman, Gadot, captured Wonder Woman really great. So that's number 5 on my list. And actually, the Wonder Woman movie, if you read the comic, it's very similar. It's amazing how much they maintained from the actual comic. And I think maybe the movies that are the most successful are the ones that actually fairly loyal to the original source material. So Wonder Woman, kudos for that. The next one was Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy was, to me, a bit of a shocker because I had no, like at the time, I never heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I knew Rocket Raccoon though, but I really didn't know the Guardians that well. And I went into it a little bit unprepared for what to expect, and I just really enjoyed it. I really liked all the characters. I liked Groot. I liked Gamora and Nebula, and I just liked all the characters. I thought they were really really great. And Star-Lord, he was kind of awesome. The beginning scene was really cool. Just a really great movie, just very fun. Number 3 on my list was not such a fun movie, but just a really brilliant movie, just really well done, and it was Joker. I thought Joker was just a brilliant movie. Like, you really get into that origin of the Joker and how, even as a simple man with no powers or anything special about him, he can become this icon within that messed up world that they lived in. So I thought that was really interesting. Just see that human kind of breakdown kind of thing. I thought it was a really great movie. Number 2 on the list is the original Spider-Man, the first one with Tobey Maguire. And I really liked that one. I just thought it was a really, really well portrayed Spider-Man. And it really gave, like, a lot of the time when you think of comic movies, and Spider-Man really changed this. You think of movies where it's kind of campy, like I think of the Superman movies that I actually had on this list. They're a little bit campy. You don't really take them seriously. But when Tobey Maguire did Spider-Man, you could actually feel that angst, that issue that he had, where he was in a situation where really his world was kind of messed up. Superpowers kind of have huge responsibilities, and he was, as a young kid, shouldering this really heavy burden. And I just thought it was really interesting how they were, able to create this superhero story that wasn't campy, it wasn't silly, it had some real emotional pull to it, and I thought it was really a great movie. And the last movie, and kind of similar to Spider-Man in this respect, was Infinity War. I thought Infinity War was my favorite of the MCU movies. I really like the fact that they all die at the end. It sounds horrible, but I like that. I like that. Wow! Oh my goodness! I can't believe they lost. That kind of situation where you're really, it's a shocking end. In a way, it's kind of reminds me of Empire Strikes Back being one of my favorite of the original 3 movies. And it's because, in a way, it's not the typical end. It's not the Disney ending where it's like, oh, everybody's happy, everyone's worked out, everything's going to be sorted. It's one of those things where sometimes the bad guys win, and now we got to pick up the pieces. And I kind of like that situation where it, to me, has a much deeper story and much more story that rings true in a way. Because, we don't always win in life. And I think having a story where the bad guy sometimes wins is kind of interesting. It gives much more credence to that bad guy. Thanos is like, he is the ultimate bad guy. And he wasn't done in the way that normally when they put bad guys in movies, what they'll do is they'll make them bad. They're just bad. And everything they do is bad or evil or whatever. And Thanos wasn't that. He's a sympathetic character. And you could say, well, he has his logic. You might not agree with that logic, but he's doing something that he believes is for a good cause. And that's what actually really, really I enjoyed, because a lot of the time we think of good and bad, right? That very simple idea. And with Infinity War, he was not just a bad guy, he was a good guy and trying to do something good for the universe by kind of cleansing it a bit, culling the herd, basically. And he thought he was doing something right. He was like, doing something for that greater good. And he even was risking his own life to do that. He was like, and it wasn't about getting power or anything like that. It was really about this altruistic idea. And I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the bad that we experience in the world can actually come from good places. And that's what I really enjoy, that we sometimes think, oh, when something bad happens in the world, it's out of good, out of just sheer badness. But a lot of the time, people thinking that they're doing something good will often end up doing something bad. So, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, kind of idea. And I think that's really true about the Thanos character. So I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really good. I always maybe overthink overthink the movies a bit, but I really did enjoy that movie. Okay. And I did watch all those movies with my children. So, except for Spider-Man 1 and Superman 3, those two, my children weren't alive. So, it's before their time. So yeah, so the next question, I should say, is from QE. What aspect do you think got lost in the decades of comics? If you look back to the golden age or silver age of comics, they're really popular, and nowadays comics aren't that big anymore. Something important changed, and I think the silliness and incorrectness are the main aspects. I think he means political correctness. So, what I think has happened with comics now, and this is where I always get into trouble. People will complain. Just hear me out. I actually think the big problem with comics today is the diversity. And what I mean by that is, when you tell a diversity of stories, it can really work. I think of manga. Manga is very, very popular. And the reason manga is popular is they're all about trying to tell good stories with diversity of story. So you can have like a manga series all about fishing. And it's not about zombie fishing. It's not about vampire fishing. It's not about superhero fishing. It's about fishing and just people enjoying fishing. And that is its own thing. But it's all about really good storytelling and really, really respecting that storyline. And it's not about putting a whole bunch of random characters into it. It's about really just telling a great story about fishing. And they'll make ones about like pretty much anything. Golf, I heard they have manga about. They have ones where they tell superhero stories, or I really liked Death Note. I thought that was a brilliant series. Just these really, complicated cat and mouse kind of situations. It's all about building really great characters and telling good stories with them. Whereas diversity in North America is all about, hey, do we have a black person? Oh, we got to put that black person there. Do we have a white lesbian? Yeah, we got to get one of those. Put that in there. Do we have, and it's all about getting all those checkpoints, like somebody with a handicap, somebody with like some kind of crazy like thing. And it's just about getting all those check boxes checked rather than focusing on telling good stories. And I feel like it's always kind of pushed in. Like, I would actually not mind a whole story about a black character. Like, I loved Black Panther. I'm a big Black Panther fan. I don't mind that. I don't need to, have a white character just because I'm white be the role model. I can have like, the I'm smart enough, and I think most readers are smart enough that they can see just the goodness of that character as being role model worthy. We don't have to always be represented in every demographic within the comics in order to feel like the comics represent us. And that's, I think, the problem with the modern comics. They, they make Superman black. They make Superman's son gay, or bisexual. It's like, come on, like let's just appreciate the characters for what they are, and build on those characters. And if you want to create other stories and create diversity of actual stories, well, create new characters that go off on some whatever checklist you want. The funny thing is, there were comics that were devoted totally to the gay genre, and they were popular within that genre. There, I actually I collect kind of obscure things. I like really obscure comics. There was actually a comic that was totally devoted to feminism, like, and not even the good form of feminism, but the extreme form of feminism, the kind of man-hating feminism. And it's called Naughty Bits, and it's totally about like I hate men kind of thing. But it's interesting as a collectible, so I picked it up. Um, but it had its own audience because it never strayed from that message. It was like, it is its own thing. And I think there's much more honesty and like truth about that than when you try to kind of try to have all these check boxes in each and every comic. It just, when you try to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. And another thing that really bothers me about modern comics, and this is probably something that I think a lot of you might agree with, is that they lost sight of men and women. Really, what a man is and what a woman is, and what men like and what women like. Men generally like to save the women. We have that hero complex. It's probably why I like all the bondage covers and the good girl art, because I like the maiden in distress, the damsel that needs to be rescued by the hero. And women generally like stories that have like more human nature kind of stories, and more a little bit more about that whole character romance and innocence maybe of the romance, and that development. Like, I think of 50 Shades of Grey kind of thing, where you have that rich billionaire and he falls in love with the really plain boring girl. That kind of thing where they can sort of almost imagine themselves as that girl, and that opportunity to meet some awesome handsome prince kind of thing. And guys are much more about big epic battles too. So when you try to make women into men and men into women, it really doesn't appeal to either group. So it just sort of, you lose your audience. And I think that's mainly the big problems with the modern comics. I'd love to hear people's feedback. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate for what I say, but hey, I always say what I actually believe. So, I can be wrong, but I'm probably not. Okay. Next question was from Comic Mag Musings. Okay, KG Canadian. He always likes to make fun of me being Canadian. Here's another question. Do you collect war comics, particularly pre-Code War? If so, are there any for which you currently are currently hunting? Currently hunting. Sorry, can't read. Okay, so actually, this is one of those ones where I do collect pre-code books. I love the Golden Age, right? And I do collect war-related books, but I don't necessarily like war books for the most part, to tell you the truth. I do like Alex Schomburg and the war propaganda books. I think in my last video with where I did my Alex Schomburg spotlight, I showed my Young Allies, which is just this great, crazy World War II kind of propaganda cover. But I wanted to show you some books that I am collecting that are in that World War II era, and that I think are kind of cool. Um, and they're, they're, they're basically okay. So Fight Comics is a great series. I like the bondage art covers. I've been collecting the various covers from Fight Comics that are just really cool. There's some really crazy Fight Comics covers, and I just really like them. Uh, I don't even read the comic. I just like the artwork. I really enjoy the artwork. I just thought this was a brilliant cover, just the way she's like on the paddle wheel. I just think that's awesome. Um, and I'm gonna show you some more. Another series similar to Fight Comics is Wing Comics, and you got the bad World War II guy, and she's like going out of the bomber hangar. Just a women in peril kind of cover. I just think these are cool. So again, these are kind of World War II covers, but not necessarily for the reasons that you might think. Um, so I'm going to show a few more actually. There's another series, and I have to take it out because it's hard to see, called Ranger Comics. And this has got he's he's whacking the Japanese soldier, and I love these kind of propaganda covers. So there's just like a lot of elements that I like about this comic. And actually, I have lots of Japanese friends, so it's kind of funny that they would have a laugh with me on this. It's like the stereotypical Japanese soldier, and then we got he's getting whacked. But it's the woman in bondage thing going on. So there's a lot of classic elements. So it's the war propaganda, it's the woman in bondage, woman in peril. Just a lot of great things going on with this cover. So that's another series. And I'm going to show you another from Wings, that I just really love this cover. This is like one of the best. It's like, she's strapped to a missile. There's a bomber gonna bomb them as well. Like if she doesn't get killed by getting shot off in a missile, they get bombed as well. And then you got the heroes over here, you know, trying to rescue her and stuff. It's just lots of stuff going on. And this is a, really kind of a cool cover because it's the V9, and that was a missile that was used by not Japanese, the Germans, that could have actually ended the war. They were really close to developing this V rocket, and they were really close to developing nuclear bomb technology. And if they could have put the two together, they could have just bombed anywhere in the world that they wanted, and it would have been pretty pretty bad. So it's kind of interesting, that historical element too. So I really like this book. I think it's just a great cover. So there's that one. And another from Wings. Wings just has a lot of these great good girl art covers. I just think this one's just hilarious. It's like, she's like tied to the Japanese, like it's again the stereotype Japanese guy, his fighter, and she's strapped to it, and there's like flames going on, and it's like the good guy is swooping in. I'm not even sure how he's going to save her. So if he shoots shoots them down, what is going to happen? They're both going to die. So just so much action and kind of cool kind of stuff going on in this comic. I just think it's a really great cover. Okay, and one more series that I like that is kind of weird. Like, I've heard people say that it's not the greatest series, but I actually enjoy it. Is Bullet Man. And this is a World War II cover. And this is his first appearance, actually. This is from 1940. This is before the U.S. actually got into the war. So it's kind of interesting that it is actually pre-World War II for the U.S. Being Canadian, we were in the war at this point. But it's interesting because they have Bullet Man, he's attacking one of these enemy ships kind of thing. So it's just a really great cover. And I like these kind of golden age kind of quirky characters. Like Bullet Man is a very quirky character. He's actually not named Bullet Man for the reason that people most often think. Like, people would say, oh, he's named Bullet Man because he's got a bullet. he's like a bullet. Well, actually, that's not the reason why he was called Bullet Man. In the story, the reason he was called Bullet Man was he was really into forensics, and he loved studying everything about like fingerprinting and ballistics. He would actually look at the casings and figure out which caliber of gun was used to fire. And his classmates at school were kind of making fun of him because he was like examining all these bullets, and they called him Bullet Man. That's the origin of his name, and I think that's kind of funny that that. Um, and he actually did something similar to Captain America, where he took some serum to make him super powerful. So yeah, kind of interesting. Um, so those are my World War II. Some of my I have more than that actually, but some of my World War II kind of comics, and I think they're really interesting. I really get into the good girl art plus also the propaganda ones. And I'm really looking for a lot of the Schomburg stuff. I really would love to have some of the um, uh, like Marvel comics that he produced. He did like the covers for Marvel comics. They are just so crazy. Like they have like really crazy covers with Hitler. Like there's one where Hitler has this massive head. It's just like, and it's like a torture chamber in front of him. It's just really crazy. And another one that I actually would love to own is Super Duck #1. It's a comic that I always wanted to try to get. And it has like a picture on the cover is Super Duck, and he's got like Hitler and Mussolini's kind of bashing them together. So just a really great cover. So those would be some of my wants on those. So the next one is from Clinton Rathbun. Speaking of Dell and Gold Key, how many Carl Barks Donald Duck books do you have? Can you show the covers? I'm especially interested in Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck comics. The one that most sticks in my mind is A Christmas in Shacktown. That's 4-color 367, and I don't have that book. I wish I did. It's actually a really great Christmassy cover, but I don't have it, which is in season now. I really like Uncle Scrooge, but Donald Duck, when he goes on his adventures with his nephew, is also a fun read. All, all by Barks, of course. Thanks for your Dell history. I would like more comic company history if you feel like it in the future. May you and your family have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Okay, so I'm going to give you a bit more Dell history, maybe some Dell comics that you should check out. And I'll start with. So I only brought my Uncle Scrooge. I actually have a lot of the Whitman and Gold Key and Gladstone, Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge comics. And I just thought I'll just show you the more cooler ones, the little more pricey ones, I guess. I'll start with this book. This is just all Uncle Scrooge, what I'm going to show. But actually, there was a question earlier about upgrading. Well, I upgraded this book. I had a 2.0 originally, and I upgraded it to a 5.0. And I gave the 2.0 to my brother as a Christmas gift. So this one is it's actually not Carl Barks art. This is not Carl Barks art, just so you know. But interior is, and he did a story about Uncle Scrooge. So this is actually the first appearance of Uncle Scrooge, and this is Dell 178. Dell 4-color 178. It's a major key, and it's one of those ones that is always it's kind of like a blue chip for Dell Comics, just because it's like a major character and it's their first appearance. Now, obviously, you'll notice Uncle Scrooge is not on the cover. Okay, so I'll show you where Uncle Scrooge made his first cover appearance, and this is in Vacation Parade #2, and you can see Uncle Scrooge is right there. So that's where he made his first cover appearance. And just a really great, cover. I'm not sure if this, I believe this is Barks as well. but I'm not sure about that. That's one thing. It's not always obvious who did the covers. Barks does have his own style, but a lot of the Disney artists, they would kind of mimic their own the other artists' styles, so it wasn't always obvious. But I'll show you one that is a Carl Barks cover, and it's this one, Uncle Scrooge, only a poor old man. So he's like doing his rowing his boat in in his vault with all the money and stuff. And this is the first title for Uncle Scrooge, and this is Dell 386. So it's kind of a major key for Uncle Scrooge. Now, Uncle Scrooge only had 3 issues in the 4-color run. And the next one that they had was this one. So this is actually the last of the Dell 4 colors with Uncle Scrooge as the title. So this is Dell 4-color 495. And it also has another, it's like a double key, because it's also the first appearance of Uncle Scrooge's number 1 dime. So he has this lucky dime that he is kind of his source of his power. And this is the first appearance of that Uncle Scrooge dime. So number 1 dime. And this is this is actually a pretty pricey, like with Uncle Scrooge, just as a side, I actually looked this one up, and in high grade, really, really pricey. Once it gets above like a 4, the price just jumps really fast. This is a low grade, so you can get this for under $20, that kind of level. But once it gets above like a 4.0, the prices just start going up hundreds and then thousands once they get higher grades. So that's one thing. If you're a collector, try to get the higher grade if you can. But out of affordability, I got the cheaper one. So this is Dell 495, the last issue with Uncle Scrooge in the 4-color series. Now, the first Uncle Scrooge is this one here, actually. I'm going to show you. And this is Uncle Scrooge number 4. And I'm not sure why they started with the number 4. Maybe because there were 3 in the Dell 4-color run, starting with that one that I showed, and then ending with the other one that I showed. And this would be the 4th issue of Uncle Scrooge. So this was the first Uncle Scrooge solely, being Uncle Scrooge, not Dell 4-color Uncle Scrooge. So this is this is Walt Disney Uncle Scrooge number 4, which is the first of his own series. And it's kind of a cool book. Then we get Dell number 5. Uncle Scrooge number 5, and number 6 is also a key. So these 5 and 6, I didn't bring 6 for some reason. Uncle Scrooge numbers 5 and 6 are the first appearance of the Woodchuck Guide. So Uncle Scrooge's nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they always they're junior woodchuck guys, and they always talk about, but in the hand guide we and they go on about the woodchuck hand guide. It's sort of like the Scout's Guide. And this is the first time you see the book. It's not named until number 6. So kind of a little minor key as well. And then another book, and I believe this is Barks' work. And I did mention that I do have the Whitman comics. And I kind of wanted to show a key that is kind of one of those under the radar keys. And if you ever find this, you can get this in the dollar bin. It is a really sought after book. And it's a Whitman one, and it's I believe it's 179. So Uncle Scrooge 179. Now the way that you would get this book in this exact book is you would only be able to get it through the 3-packs. So you have to get the Whitman one. It has to be Whitman. It can't be the gold key. It has to be the Whitman, and it's 179. And you can only get it in the 3-packs. Now the 3-packs were only sold in Canada. I'm Canadian. And my mom would always get me comics for Christmas, and this was in one of those 3 packs when I was a kid. So I had this as a child. So this is one of the few that I picked up as a kid, and it's just a rare key. This book can go up into the thousands in high grade. Even in this low grade, this is a very low grade because I didn't know about treating comics well back then. Um, yeah, kind of mangled it a bit. But even in this grade, you would expect it to be $100 to $200 range. So it's a pretty rare book. So that's my that's my little bit of Dell history and some keys and some you know Uncle Scrooge. So next, last question is from Ragman Comics. Do you have a loyal fan and viewer or somebody kind you met through your channel? If so, what's the nicest thing he or she did to help you out? Do you think you owe them something if they did something really nice for you, like selling something rare or special or finding some books that you absolutely love? Okay, so there's a few people, actually, I have to thank all of the people that watch my channel. If anyone can sit through like me babbling for like more than 30 minutes on just talking about my comics and my love of comics, I appreciate that. So all of my viewers, I appreciate. But there have been a few standouts. And one is one of the people that asked a question earlier, and he's Kiwi. Kiwi has helped me a lot. And I'm going to show you, he actually helped me find a few of the Soti books that I was looking for. And he actually showed me another series that I thought was really cool. And I'm going to show you one. I bought the whole series just because he recommended it. And I thought it was just so cool. And I got it for cheap. It was like $40 for the whole series. It's this one, Algam Press. It's basically like, what if you took DC and Marvel and mixed them together and, created a bunch of characters? So we got Lobo and Howard the Duck. Lobo the Duck. So just a really kind of a cool character. And these were all just one shots. It was, kind of a, cool little series where they made this what if kind of situation with a mixture of DC and Marvel characters. So I thought that was kind of cool. That was one of the ones that he recommended and I picked up. He also even gave me, he had won some books from, just Instagram contests and stuff like that. And it was just too expensive. He's from Germany. And he just thought, hey, it's too expensive to ship to Germany. Why not send it to Comic Collector Geek, which is me? And he sent me some of these winnings that he had. So I got like a Micronauts #1 as a result. I was like, I didn't even know what it was at first. Why am I getting Micronauts #1? And he later told me, oh, that was the contest that I won. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, and then other cool books from another person that I sort of met through the channel, and his name is Collecto6, and sometimes he'll ask questions as well. He basically has like his own Instagram account. I recommend you check out his stuff. Really brilliant Instagram account, Collecto6. And I was kind of going through his stuff, and he was kind of recommending some books to me. And he recommended Lily Renee, just a really great artist. And this is Abbott and Costello #4. I just love this cover. It's just a really great cover. It's just, sort of S&M kind of style thing going on. Dominatrix. I just think it's just the greatest cover. I just really like it. Another one that he had that I thought was kind of interesting was this First Kiss. And it's like this man hater. I just think it's just so great. I just think it's so funny. So this is First Kiss, another, early, maybe atomic age book. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of cool. And another one that he had, that he kind of recommended, and I thought it was such a brilliant book that I had to pick it up, was Crime Does Not Pay #46. Now this book is it's got Charles Biro art. It's just Charles Biro. Like if you look through The Crime Doesn't Pay, there's some really amazing covers, like just crazy covers. And this is one of those ones that has a crazy cover. This is just such a crazy cover. And I almost have to zoom in so you can see how crazy it is. So I'll explain this cover because it is really crazy. Okay, so you got little girl, super innocent, pigtails, kind of, just getting out of school. Like, just super innocent. And then you got this crazy guy with an ice cream, like he's trying to lure her in, right? And then you got his accomplices in the car, and they got like, what do they got? They got like rope. They're ready to tie her up. Like it's just such a crazy comic, and it's like even has like the PS 82 girls school, just so many elements here, right? And I think that's kind of cool. I think these kind of quirky, a little bit over the top comics are pretty great. There's another cover that actually, because of finding this one, it led me to find other of these really great ones that I kind of seeking out. I forgot what issue number it is, but it's one where the guy is literally taking a girl and he's putting her head to the stove, and it's like her hair's like lighting on fire. And it's just, a great cover. So another artist that I've been checking out a lot of his stuff. Very, very funny artist. So yeah, so those are some of the things that I've learned and gained from my viewers. Actually, some of the Uncle Scrooge books were mentioned by another subscriber to my channel, and he kind of recommended some of those Uncle Scrooge books. So, I really do appreciate all the people that leave me feedback and kind of get me hunting on some of these comics. I learn a lot from you, the audience, and I really do appreciate everyone that watches my videos. So again, thanks for everyone. Thanks for watching. And please leave your question below and I'll do my big long answer about it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out my other videos as well. And please like and comment and subscribe. And thanks again. Bye for now.